Hey guys, welcome back to World of Warships. Today we are taking a look at the Prins Van Oranje. It's been a while since I've taken a look at this ship. It is finally back with Holiday Convoy. Initially released as a very brief steel will event, it is now something you can grind over the next 6 months completely for free. And yes, that was 36,000 damage just out of these bombs. I often call this ship the more gun-focused of the two Tier 10 heavy Dutch cruisers. Guden is much more airstrike focused. The guns are not nearly as good. However, if you can land these airstrikes, they are insane. They have more alpha damage, more pen, more fire chance than Guden bombs, and more range. However, you have an 18-second lead time. You got to do a lot of predicting, or get fortunate that a battleship is just in spawn, bow on reversing. That is 3 perma fires on that poor Fukushima. We actually have 46 millimeters of pen here, so a lot of battleships with less than that 50 millimeters of armor, which is all too common these days in a lot of those problem battleships, we can full pen pretty much everywhere with these bombs, leading to insane alpha damage and amazing amount of fires. Again, though, these strikes are extremely difficult to lead here. It is much easier to lead Guden bombs and much easier to lead Utrecht bombs. I really like Prins, though. I am much bigger fan of this ship compared to the style of the tech tree ships because these bombs are so much harder to use. Longer lead times mean it's easier to dodge them. It's less oppressive because the reload is so much longer on this ship as well. It's more focused on the main guns. The main guns here are absolutely incredible. Being someone who plays this game for the surface ship gun combat primarily, unsurprisingly then, I like this ship design a lot better than the Guden and the Utrechts of the world. So then, how are we going to grind towards this ship? It is through Holiday Convoy. I've done a nice guide for you. If you are interested, haven't seen that video, go check it out. But it is going to be available in that event. So over the next 6 months or so, we are going to get tokens for playing the game, and those tokens can be spent on premium ships. There's a lot of great ships available, Prins being one of them. For 140,000 tokens there, it will take you a while to grind this one out. It will take some dedicated playtime or just inputting of some in-game resources. Things like coal, steel, research points will all allow you to get this ship. And I think it is relatively reasonable to grind out a tier 10 ship, especially one that is quite special. I think Prins plays quite different than a lot of ships in the game, and also that it used to be a limited time steel ship. Much like Hawaii and Bremen were only available in a short time for steel last Christmas, Prins and George Hoffman were the previous year's version of that. Maybe we're going to get another Hawaii and Bremen coming back in the same way. I don't know that for sure. Some speculation there. But I'm really happy to see Prins come back because I really like this ship. Let's talk more about it. The main guns here, I really enjoy. Great shell velocity here. They are similar to Goliath. It's the same caliber. That's the British heavy cruiser. 234 millimeter main guns, so good alpha damage here and great fire chance. 18% base fire chance. We have cruiser dispersion here, 12 guns. It feels so much more consistent than Guden. It's battle cruiser dispersion on Guden and only 9 guns, so much less consistency there in my opinion. And it pairs so nicely with these airstrikes. Yes, we don't have the DPM on these airstrikes like you would on Guden or on Utrecht, but combining this 18% base fire chance, 12 guns, accurate, it's going to get you a lot of fires, as you will see. Maybe you already see it. We got our Witherer buff from Conrad already in this one. It just combines so well to burn down battleships so quickly. It's also great into cruisers. The HE applies a lot of pressure, and the armor piercing is surprisingly good on this ship. Now, sure, it is not improved pen angles or anything like that, but 5750 alpha damage, nearly 6,000 alpha damage feels very good. And even at 15 kilometers, the ship has 310 millimeters of pen. That is getting through all cruisers, heavy cruisers, even spaced armor. It is going to smash. Yeah, no improved pen angles, no short fuses or anything like that. It's primarily an HE spammer. But it applies enough pressure with the HE and especially the bombs. The bombs seem to do their best when ships are angled to you. Bow on, kite it away, that kind of thing. If they go broadside, it seems like less of the bombs hit, which is perfect. Combines with swapping over to armor piercing and getting a lot of damage that way. It's a really synergistic playstyle here. outside of spotting for itself. That is going to be the main problem with Prins. You don't have the best armor into today's meta, right? We have a 30 mil deck armor, so we're getting overmatched by a lot of those battleships. Relatively small superstructure, and crucially, this ship, unlike Guden, has 30-second fire durations. So Guden has to deal with long fire durations, which can get it burnt down pretty quickly if it gets caught out in the wrong spot. Prince does not have to deal with that. Though as a result, instead of the nice 40-second heal cooldown on Guden, we do have a regular 80-second. But we're used to that as far as cruisers go. A nice 5-kilometer hydro here, as well as a standard damage control. Not taking a lot of damage from this Hawaii, isn't that interesting? It's because our superstructure is relatively small. Although I do have to show a little bit more broadside than I would like to fire all of these main guns, especially forward, as we will see. 34 degrees forward, 31 degrees kited. It's decent. It's decent, but it is going to get you vulnerable to eating citadels if you greed too much for these main guns. You should be able to angle in time, though, for when the battleship salvos come, because our upper belt is actually 40 millimeters. So at closer ranges, we can start to do a little tanking. There's a little icebreaker here too. So at closer ranges, we're relatively tanky, unless, of course, we run into a Colombo. Yes, SAP is going to pen us everywhere. We're not a very small cruiser. Unfortunate that we didn't get citadels on that Takahashi. I was talking up the AP and then we get disappointed there, unfortunately. It's okay. The HE pressure combined with, oh, what is that? A Satsuma crossfire. Yeah, that's pretty good. We're going to try and help make use of that. However, we need to live against this Colombo, which may prove a bit of a challenge. I wouldn't be too afraid of a Colombo at 16 kilometers open water in a heavier cruiser when I have some maneuverability upgrades, prop mod, rudder mods, that sort of thing, allowing me to see if the Colombo led me properly, and then I could slow down and turn away. Or if he underled, leading, trying to predict that I would slow down and turn in, I just stay in a straight line, that kind of thing. There is enough time here to dodge like that. When we have maneuverability upgrades, though. Prince, if we are going to buff these airstrikes, which, as we can see, do a lot of damage still, we do not get access to propulsion or rudder mod in the 5th slot because we're taking airstrike reload mod there instead. It also buffs the survivability of the planes, which may or may not be as important now that AA has been changed. Again, I haven't played enough with it yet. I haven't done any full AA builds or anything like that, but just on vibes playing over the last week or so, it feels a little weaker, AA. I'm not so sure about that, so maybe I don't need to run that. Another thought would be that even though I have been running that build in this entire video, I'll show you the build at the end. I think that this ship would do pretty well just going full guns, taking some of those maneuverability buffs, maybe not even taking conceal, taking prop mod fourth slot. I think I said 5th slot earlier for the airstrike reload. I'll edit that in. Whoops. It's 4th slot there. 5th slot concealment. Maybe we swap it over to the improved rudder mod there. Prince is great as a pure damage dealer out of the main guns, and the airstrikes are rather supplemental a lot of the time anyway. Often I am throwing these airstrikes out and missing, straight up. I am not very good with these strikes, probably because I haven't played this ship in a couple of years, so got to get used to it. A lot of vibes-based aiming with these airstrikes, but we managed to make it work here. 300,000 damage into this one feels pretty good. Little tip, if you are going to pick this ship up and you haven't played, say, Willem Derst, that is the battleship with also these long lead time airstrikes, try to lead for the ship what you think, and then just flick your mouse a little bit. Send it out maybe 30, 40% further away than you think, and that might get you to land some. It is, again, a very long lead time. 141,000 fire damage out of that one. Yeah, the HE is pretty consistent at the fire damage. It applies a lot of pressure to cruisers too. I had to include this one because this poor Worcester is stuck in a very, very difficult position. He probably out DPMs us if he goes for all of his main guns, but at these ranges, if he does that, I'm just gonna Citadel him with my AP. And if he stays angled like this, he has very little DPM, and, well, I also have to point out how unlucky he is going to get with fires here. Perhaps he's running IFHE. That would be likely, I suppose, given how few fires he got. But being a heavy cruiser here, our HE pen's 39 millimeters, pretty good through American battleships. They're 38 millimeters. But we don't have to take IFHE to get pen, so we still have amazing fire chance. Yeah, we got a triple fire perma running on this poor Worcester at the moment. I am purely greeting to try and get all 4 here. Didn't work out, but that's okay. We're not even getting that much help from our teammates right here. That is a pretty fast Worcester kill. Like, don't sleep on the guns of Prince. If you want to play more gun combat with a little bit of airstrikes, I highly recommend Prince. This ship is absolutely amazing. I love the guns on this ship. They feel really, really nice. I think compared to something like Goliath, which has similar DPM, again, the caliber is the same. Goliath has such slow shell velocity. Prince guns are fast, so they're pretty easy to use. And again, they do so much damage. Now, I've talked a lot about this ship's characteristics already. Let's talk about strategies you can employ. Obvious one is push up to islands that are relatively close to camps and where the enemy team is going to be, and you're going to be pretty likely to be in range of these airstrikes. Given the good shell velocity on the guns, though, you're not going to be able to arc over very many islands. So in that case, maybe it's a good idea to go to the flanks, right? Isolate fights on enemy battleships, cruisers, that kind of thing. Use your good damage and relatively solid survivability to outtrade some players. It's not going to be the easiest ship to play in all matches. Pushing up to islands also leaves you vulnerable to other ships with airstrikes or, of course, the carriers. Pushing on the flanks is also very, very risky when there is a submarine in the game. This is one of the major weaknesses of a lot of these Dutch ships, is that they have ship-based ASWs. So they really can't do a whole lot against submarines. You're very, very helpless against them. So pushing a flank where there is a sub, notice there is on this flank, and we are all alone out here. We're very fortunate that the submarine just full charged our spawn, and I don't have to deal with him here. Otherwise, I am quite the sitting duck here, as is this poor Montana. So much damage into him. The perma fires after our guns light the first 2. The alpha damage, our HE, again, it full pens him everywhere. My poor Montana and its 38 millimeters of armor has been so power crept at this point that yes, he is going to go down very quickly to a Colombo and a Prince. Pushing along this flank can be a little tricky, but if we are dealing with cruisers in particular, our armor is very, very good. Much like against that Worcester at close range, a G-Nan is not going to do a whole lot to us unless he gets his torps at us. Fortunately, I have my Hydra up right now, but we are going to push up to the next island. That's usually what I'm trying to do with a Prince, is I still want to play islands. I don't want to open water with this ship, because getting focused by the battleships, you're going to eat so much damage, because a lot of the battleships that people actually play these days are the 457 plus millimeter battleships that are overmatching us. So pushing up to the island here, and I'm going to just try and isolate fights on whoever is going to push around the island and use the island to block shots from, say, the Bungo that's coming up. Maybe the G-Nan and his torpedoes, Shima and his torpedoes, that kind of thing. AP into a Napoli broadside? Yes, sir. Even into that ship, which tends to not eat that many Citadels. It's very good armor piercing, guys. You really should be swapping to it. I use gun feeder as a result because I want to use both ammo types. Trying to lead him with the airstrikes, and I actually do manage to get a couple hits here for nearly 10,000 damage. Just a couple hits is all it takes, guys. And this ship does monster damage. And yes, I'll include the intro clip yet again, because this was just absolutely filthy levels of damage. You gotta lead a lot, right? It's a little bit challenging to dodge these strikes as well from the other side if the enemy Prince doesn't lead quite properly. Right, if I had led for him to go in a straight line, I would have missed this. But thanks to the Bungo, I think, slowing down and turning in a little bit, yeah, he eats them all. I often find myself doing this as well when I'm fighting against a Prince, is I see them start the airstrike up, and I think, oh, okay, he led me, let me slow down and turn in, change my course, and then I slow down and turn in, or slow down and turn away, directly into the bombs. A good strategy against this ship might just be full speed straight lining. 18 seconds is a lot of lead, and it is very, very difficult to accomplish. But yes, 36,000 alpha damage into that poor Bungo is ridiculous. The airstrikes are strong, hard to use, long reload. You got to focus on the main guns mostly with this ship to get the most out of it. And I like that. I really like that. I think this ship is very cool. For 140,000 tokens, though, That's quite expensive. That is going to be much more grinding than, say, the Bismarck 41 that we looked at recently. That one is a pretty easy one for me to recommend because it's not going to take much grinding. This one is over double. So with Bismarck 41, I kind of thought 2 days a week of playing 5 battles in those days over the next 6 months will get you the Bismarck 41 pretty much for free. Over double. So that's going to be 4 or 5 days a week playing, and that is 5 games a day. Yeah, you can cheese it in co-op, as I already mentioned in that guide video. But still, that is a lot more. I think realistically for the tier 10s here, and there's some new tier 10s that are looking pretty cool, like Latouche, perhaps. Maybe I should take a fresh look at Le Havre, just to give a little preview of what Latouche might look like. That'd be interesting. But there's a lot of good options at this tier 10 level in this event. So Prince is a great one, but there are some other good ones too that we'll take a look at shortly. But Prince here is definitely an excellent choice. I think this ship is absolutely amazing. Like I said, personally like it much, much more than Guden. I love the main guns on this ship, and given that we have more passive games these days, I think the 15 kilometers of range on these airstrikes makes it a little bit more useful in the vast majority of battles. I don't know, Guden with its 13 kilometers of range can feel a little bit lacking there at times. Although with the legendary mod buffing your range now, could be a little bit easier with that. But not everybody has the legendary mod. And again, gun focused here, I really, really enjoy. Yes, we're even taking things like outnumbered here, because oftentimes I am trying to play that flanking role on islands, and with outnumbered, these guns are absolutely filthy. 18.1 kilometers of range on these main guns is excellent. You don't need to run range mod here. So going full reload, 14-second reload on guns this powerful feels very, very nice. That's before things like AR and maybe even top grade gunner. 10.8 kilometer best detect here is great as well. Turning circle radius is solid, but that rudder shift is a little bit tricky. Yeah, 15 kilometer range is nice, but what they don't show you in the stats there is that 18-second lead time. Absolutely brutal. But 8,500 alpha damage on the bombs, absolutely wild alongside that pen and that fire chance. Decent amount of HP here too. I really do want to run gun feeder. We're running focus fire trading for the airstrike armament 15% reload. Superintendent for the extra heals, as well as the new replacement to D-fire. It actually does buff the airstrike reload for a little bit. And then, yeah, going full concealment. It gives us a 10% reload buff to our airstrike for 30 seconds. So it's not a massive DPM buff, but it helps. It helps. It brings the airstrikes back a little bit quicker. Definitely running reload. I would like to experiment, I think, with going steering gears mod and prop mod here instead. If you wanted to go for a full gun variant, you do lose out on quite a bit of reload on your airstrikes, as well as 25% HP. So more of those planes will be getting shot down. They spend quite a bit of time in AA because, again, that long lead time that you have to give. But that would make this ship much more viable as if we are forced into open water. Prop mod plus the steering gears mod here would help quite a lot. If I swap over to it here, we get 7.6 second rudder shift on 790 meter turning circle. That would be a much harder ship to get. Perhaps we could even run steering gears and not propulsion mod to still have the airstrikes. This could be an interesting build because 12 detect is still fine. Consider Hindenburg is at like 12.6 kilometer detect best. That is a very, very solid detection given that we're not running full conceal. This armor is surprisingly good at close range. Large icebreaker here, so you're not dealing with overmatched citadels into your bow. At close range, 40 mil upper belt here. It does have a little bit of turtleback. This only works though against cruiser guns. Battleship guns will be overmatching through this very easily. And then it is a 40 mil citadel that you're getting through. But 225 on the outside, a little bit of spaced armor shenanigans can sometimes eat some shells. Torque protection hits are pretty common these days. I don't know about you, but it certainly feels pretty common in that way. But this deck armor is the big problem here, because oftentimes at the ranges that most battleships are playing, they're pretty passive these days, I'm noticing. They will be plunging fire overmatching through this, so you will take quite a bit of damage because it's not a very small ship. Consider that if we are in that kited position, farming, that kind of thing, we don't have any icebreaker back here. I know there wouldn't be. Icebreaker in this game to me just refers to something that protects your citadel from overmatched salvos. That is the effect in game. So that's why I call it that, even though Would it make sense for Icebreaker to be on this turn? Okay, that doesn't matter to this video, just a random thought, I guess. But we would get overmatched here more. So it is not the tankiest cruiser open water. So that's, again, why I'm wanting to use island cover to isolate more fights where we can win on our gun power. Conrad is pretty excellent here. We're very unlikely to actually get the extra airstrike because 50 bomb hits with this long of a reload and long lead time is pretty unlikely. But that's fine because it's a long reload, so it's not like we're losing out on DPM very often where we have all our airstrikes charged and we don't have anyone to launch them at. So much more important that we are getting the extra value here, damage up on our main guns and airstrikes every 50,000 damage we do, up to 3 times. And then, of course, the guns combined with those airstrikes. You can get a lot of Witherers very quickly in Prince. Much more so, I would say, than even Guden, maybe even Utrecht. The fire chance here is absolutely crazy, so getting that extra 10% reload feels amazing on these main guns. And then 15% is quite a lot when our HE airstrike reload is so long. Big buffs from Conrad, so if you have him, it goes very, very well with Prince. And being a premium ship, we, of course, can move him over completely for free. Prince was one of my favorites in the Holiday Convoy event guide. Go check that out if you are interested in more information on this event. But I think this ship is awesome. 140,000 is a lot more to get this one, but well worth it if you're interested in this Dutch airstrike line, but you want more main guns. Overall, I just think Holiday Convoy is awesome. I'm so happy to have an event like this one going on again. I did not enjoy the first half of the year where everything that was new was so ridiculously expensive and FOMO based. Holiday Convoy, and then next update, the anniversary coming. It's looking like a good second half of the year. I am so excited. I hope you guys are too. Let me know what you think about Prince in the comments down below. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great rest of your day.